Hi, everybody. I'm Pamela Atwood, gerontologist, certified dementia practitioner, and certified laughter leader. And welcome back to our Confident Caregivers series. I'm thrilled to be with you here today on a glorious spring day. And today is Easter. So for those of you who celebrate and recognize it as a holiday, please know that I'm wishing you a very happy Easter and a wonderful year. I wish that to everybody, actually, for everybody to have a happy day and a wonderful year. So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about something that a friend of mine said recently. And she said, so tell me now, what am I going to do with mom and dad? And naturally, since her mom and dad may be watching this, I'm not going to tell you who, not that I ever would, but I did want to at least address the issue. A lot of times people struggle with the guilt feelings and the overwhelm, not knowing really what to do with aging parents in general. So I wanted to kind of give you a little quick outline what I, as a consultant, as an elder care consultant, would suggest that someone do to kind of help gain some perspective. So what do you do with mom and dad? When we're making decisions about someone's general willingness and ability to live independently, we want to make sure that our first concern is safety. If mom and dad have any issues with wandering, with guns in the home, with leaving pots on the stove or leaving the stove on, general safety issues, falls, especially repeated falls. I mean, everybody falls once in a while. I fell about a year ago, and no big issue, no major injury. But if someone is having multiple falls, and you would notice that by having bruising on the arms, or maybe a broken piece of furniture or something, or just less steadiness on their feet. And for a lot of people, once they have a fall, once that increases their fear of falling, and so you might see them start to shuffle their feet and walk a little less confidently. That would be an indication that they may be having some falls. So whenever you've got any kind of a safety concern like that, you want to make sure that you're addressing them piece by piece. Now, that does not mean that mom and dad can't stay alone. It just means that we might need to bring in physical therapy and work on their stability or their normal gait patterns. Or we might need to add some safety features to the house. We might need to increase supervision in general. Also, another safety issue would be medication compliance. So those are the kinds of things that you want to think of first. If someone is first questioning what to do with mom and dad, I always think safety first. Then the next thing is their health. Are they going to their physicians? Are they accepting of the physician's recommendations? Now, culturally, that can be an issue. I'm trying to think. There was probably now about 4 years ago, one of the physicians at Hebrew Healthcare, where I work, Hebrew Healthcare has an outpatient practice. Excuse me. And with that outpatient practice, we used to have a physician who was Portuguese by nature, by her family history. And so naturally, because she was from Portuguese background, we had a lot of families that had used her as a physician, which was great because she had a cultural awareness and understanding. So she ended up getting this great promotion, being brought up to Boston, and most of her clients stayed within our practice. So one of the new physicians came to me and said, Pam, what am I going to do with this family? Because they tell me that, yes, they're going to listen, they're going to fill the prescription, they're going to do the recommendations for the practice for whatever it was that she had recommended for mom's well-being. But then next time they come in, they haven't gotten the prescription filled, they haven't done any of the interventions. They keep telling me, yes, I don't think that they can say it back to me, so it's not that it's a language barrier, but something's going on here. What it really was a cultural barrier. So within certain cultures, they may say yes, yes, yes to the physician, especially if it's a Western type physician, but may not have any intention of following anything other than what's within their own cultural upbringing for how to handle some kind of illness or wellness issue. And they may be doing, for instance, for people with memory issues, they may be following only things that are within their culture for natural remedies. So it's very important that we realize that health is very cultural. Sometimes the culture may say, who do you tell that there's a health issue? It might be the older son or the first daughter. It might just be the spouse. And a lot of cultures differ on their health views on death, on illness, and on aging in general. So we need to be aware of that. Generally with health, we want to make sure that folks are medication compliant, that their blood pressure, their blood sugars, all kinds of other physical wellness factors are being considered. If they have a chronic disease like a congestive heart failure or COPD, that those things are being monitored, and that their medications are reviewed on at least, at minimum, an annual basis. Most healthcare professionals for older adults will want to see them every 3 to 6 months, depending on how stable their health condition is. They might need help getting to the physician. They might need help going in and talking to the physician. A lot of times, this current generation of older adults doesn't have a whole lot of personal advocacy. They may just say, oh yes, I'm fine, and not want to bother the doctor. And today's physicians very much are taught to assess based on reported issues. So they may not pry and may not ask specifically. In the olden days, the physician did a lot more of, well, tell me about this. Does this hurt? Does this, and a lot of the poking and prodding. And medicine was very, very different back then. And I don't want to say that today's physicians don't do a lot of physical assessment. They do. But it's very, very different, and they are really very much relying on us to report the problems that we're having. Our olden days parents may not be reporting things the same way. And let me just say, for my parents, I know that doesn't mean you, because I know Mom watches these videos and she would say, wait a minute, I do fine with that. And she's right. She absolutely does. So Mom, keep it up and keep talking to Dr. Venti and Dr. O'Connor the way you always do. You're a very good self-advocate. The next thing that you want to do for parents is make sure that you're considering their security, not just their financial security, although that's very important, but you also want to make sure that you're considering their household security. Are they at risk of financial exploitation? Are they being abused? Are they not just physical abuse, but verbal or emotional abuse as well? We want to make sure that that risk of abuse is addressed, and it kind of goes with safety, but to me it's more of that personal security. So for instance, that would also include neglect and self-neglect for some people. We need to take that into account too. Yes, older adults still get to make decisions about how they want to live their lives. One of the things that I used to, excuse me, let me just dying of thirst. I don't know, it's the allergies. I was at church this morning, and of course we got there a little late, so I ended up having to sit in the front with my family, and all of the Easter flowers were so beautiful, but oh my God, my allergies are killing me. So, love my coffee. Anyway, trying to remember what I was going to say. See? Memory, right. Okay, so a story. When I was doing case management, working to keep people out of nursing homes as long as possible, one of the things that, stories that happened was one of my clients had actually fallen on ice going out to his outhouse. Now, this wasn't so long ago, I'm not so old, where outhouses were normal, but in parts of eastern Connecticut, which are very rural, that may still happen. So here was this gentleman who was renting a room in a basement with a walkout, no plumbing. He only had a hot pot and an outhouse. And so he slipped on the ice going to his outhouse. And I'm trying to remember if I actually already told you this story in another video. Well, if I did, it doesn't really matter. If I didn't, you'll love this story. So what had happened was he actually slipped and fell and broke his hip. And I, as the case manager, was brought in to see about discharge planning. We were making a decision as to whether or not he could go home or if he had to stay in the nursing home. We decided that he could go home. Now, a part of me said, that's ridiculous. Who would pay then $800 a month to live in an apartment with a hot pot and an outhouse? I mean, that's a quality of life issue that just is ridiculous. And he's still going to have a lot of risk in falling. Is he being financially exploited here? Is his security in jeopardy? Well, what we decided was that ultimately, because he was completely cognitively intact, he gets to make the decision as to how he wants to live. He was aware of the issues. He was making a cognizant decision. And as he said to us, this is the only apartment that I can have that will allow me to have a dog. And back then, that was a big issue. So, and it's still a big issue. A lot of older adults or older adults who need assisted living or something are really limited. Some assisted livings will allow you to bring a small dog in, but he had a German Shepherd, so he needed a better accommodation for the dog. So we did. We discharged him back to the community, to his outhouse, after his hip was repaired and he had successful rehabilitation. So when we're talking about security, it's about their decision-making capacity as well. Are they making an informed decision? Are they able to process the information that they need to make a good decision, not within our value structure, but in their own? And then the last thing of what you need to do to consider what do you do with mom and dad is about their happiness. Now, quality of life is a very subjective and very individual measure or metric, and quality of life very much depends. And, you know, I joke around with my mom and dad a lot. We say, oh, when dad gets old, he's only going to need a clicker and the golf channel and he'll be fine. And his quality of life is going to be very different. Now, dad is a very outgoing, fun guy, but it is not something that I'm sure he looks forward to as much as my mom, who's very social and loves being out there. So with mom, it's really going to be more about the aesthetics of a place. She's going to want to be in front of the ocean, someplace where she can have her golden retriever, and lots of company and lots of communication, whether it's Facebook, her email, singing, all of those other kinds of activities. Dad is going to be much simpler. Sure, he'd love to be in front of the ocean as well, and absolutely he would love to have the golden retriever by his side. But more important is that clicker. More important is the golf channel. Even better yet, he'd love to still be playing golf. So when you're thinking about what is it that makes your mom and dad's life complete, you want to start by asking them. For them, where the way they've always been may have been necessary for their work or necessary for how they were raising their family. That may not be what they want long term, and that's the hardest thing for adult children. We are the ones who measure whether or not mom and dad are happy by how many events they go to and how socially engaged they are. They may want nothing more than just to sit and relax and enjoy some peace and quiet. Now, that's different than the olden days when I was going to school and they believed disengagement theory was what it was, that it was normal for people to disengage from life and make way for the next generation. We now know disengagement isn't necessarily normal, but there's continuity theory is another one where people's previous lives and their previous levels of activity are pretty much where they want to be in later life as well. But ultimately it's up to them, not what we need as adult children to make us feel better about what to do with mom and dad. Mom and dad get to live the lives that they want. We need to support them with safety, with health, with security, and with their quality of life in whatever way we can. But that's different than making choices for them and having our expectations met. Let them tell us what the expectations are. Okay, that's my show for today. We have, I'm just looking at the time, pretty well timed. What can you do to make it even better today? I love these cards and I've used them before. When you look for the good and praise it miraculously, you find more things to praise. I love that. And that's so true. When I start working on what it is that I want to acknowledge and be thankful for and feel blessed about, the more I start to do that, the more I realize that I have quite a bit to be thankful for, and I am grateful. And I'm grateful for all of you confident caregivers, for watching these shows and these videos. And I look forward to talking to you next time. Next show that we're going to do is on laughter therapy and the Good Hearted Living program. So we're going to talk about how to integrate laughter into your life every day. Until next time, check me out on Instagram at pamela.atwood. You can email me any questions or ideas for the show. Love to have them at pamelaatwoodlol@gmail.com. And of course, you can follow us at our website, which is www.agingcareacademy.org. And of course, at Hebrew Healthcare at www.hebrewhealthcare.org as well. Thanks so much. Happy Easter. Have a great day.